hope you guys like Leapfrog, because that's what we're playing today. What I have next to me here is the door structure that we built for the Chrysler. And we're in the final stages of fine-tuning the edges, the flanges. I'm just going around and making sure the flanges, the little triangle missing here, we have to put that in, made up with the quarter panel, the bottom of the door with the rocker, and the front edge of the door with the fender. And right here, we have the door skin that I've been very slowly fitting to the door. And what I've done is created the hem of sorts at the top to hook on so I can let the door panel go and not have my back to you. There. It shouldn't fall. I've got this top leg rolled down inside flange for the front, and over here where the latch is, it's sitting on the wrong side. There, much better. I can't close the door because as I close it, the way things are situated with the flanges at the top, it'll push the skin off. So we're going to leave it hanging here. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So that's where this skin is at. However, on the driver's side, we've got the door shell off the car, laying on the bench here, and I've got the skin almost fitted to the shell. If you're new to our channel, welcome to Envision Prototypes. I'm Nick, and what we have next to me is a 1956 Chrysler that we converted, modified from a 4-door into a 2-door muscle car. The theme behind this is, what if Chrysler built a muscle car as a precursor to the muscle car wars in the early 60s? And this is my take on it. Can you guys tell that we chopped that roof? Yeah, almost 1.5 inches. I guess it's important to see how I went from a skin that was hanging on the door to what we have, or what you'll see on the table. With most other doors that have the front edge disappear into the fender, it's really tricky to scribe that front edge. The back edge, not a problem. You open the door, you can scribe it. The bottom is fine. It's that front edge. With this car, this door opens out and over the fender. So once I get this bottom clamped, everything's situated the way it needs to be, I'll scribe the front, the back, and the bottom. For those cars that have the door go into the fender, like inside, click the card up above and they'll show you how I use masking tape to give me x-ray vision. Yeah, so there we are. Door bottom, you saw that from the other side last time. That's all set, corners radiused, a little more metal finishing to do once everything is together. You can see I've got the flange rolled up 90 degrees along the side. The bottom is a little bit more. I wanted to make sure it got hooked. And this side here, there's a little bit of a ripple there. There's a reason for that. And I've got this edge fitting all the way around with a small clamp there and there. This thing wants to spring apart, and anytime you do de-hem a door, that thing will just pop right off. I don't know what happened to the other door, but the other door skin that I had, but if you watch me cut that off, as soon as I remove the hem, it just, boing, it just springs open. This little wrinkle here, that just means that I need to shrink that. But there's no point in shrinking that, because when I roll this flange over, it'll need to be stretched. So I just leave it as it is. And as I roll that flange over, everything's gonna fall into place very well. When I set up to roll a flange, I'll have the line where I need to bend. I'll add no more than 1/2 inch and cut away the excess material. In this case, when you come into a radius like this or something like this, I'm down to a 3/16 an eighth of an inch, just enough to grab it, because trying to roll over that much radius, or that much in a radius, is going to deform it. Corners, I usually take and cut the corners. Don't like cutting corners, but in this case, you have to. It'll bunch up and you won't be able to get rid of it, and again, it'll mess up your corner. So I cut those corners out, the material will lay down. Check out a production car door, and you'll see how they set the corners up and the radiuses. Now, I'm not driving it down, I'm driving it over, but I'm going to go over gradually. I'll make several passes, and that will help in pinching this structure onto the skin. I just noticed something. That's not good. So, either something moved. I have too much of a space at the bottom here. Okay. Rubber mallet. You always got to pay attention to what's going on. Oh, that's better. This has to be tight down here. Perhaps I put a clamp there. I just didn't want to mark it. I think we could do that. Just put a little, I don't want it to drift. So I guess when I popped whatever I popped here, that slid. Okay, that's better. And the other thing I guess I should mention is I'll never tighten a hem down. I know I mentioned that once, but this is a different reason. If I roll it down tight, I won't be able to move it. I want to be able to adjust it if I have to, after looking at it on the car. It's a whole process in hem rolling. So the multiple ripples, that's okay. And that's probably all I'm going to do for now. I gotta clamp that down. Check and make sure that that does not creep in. We're going to move the car out so I can get you guys in on the driver's side there. It's a little bit tight. We'll get there yet. There we go. That should be enough room. Finally starting to feel like a door. Just bear with me for a second. We'll get this lined up. Told you, we're getting it ready to roll outside. Can we, yep, release the door. And right now, we've settled down, so we gotta rotate it up and tighten it. Ooh. Yeah, see, by not hemming that hem tight, we are binding on the fender. I do have to get this door closed. And if I push it past, it might be where I can't get the door open. Let's pull the door back. It's not just a matter of throwing the skin on, rolling the edges, and hoping it fits. See the gap here? We're open quite a bit up here. Here we're pretty tight. I'm curious to see what happens when the door closes the rest of the way. You see? Same gap, same gap. I'm too low. The mismatch, it's got to come up a bit. Even if you get an aftermarket skin, try putting it on. Not always do they align 100%. Let's try there. Yeah, way too tight at the top now. That's good. That's okay. That gap is a bit funny. Ooh, first latch. We can come back quite a bit. Now I'm wondering if it's not the skin or is the structure. See, now we can't see the structure. I can take a block of wood, bump it, see if it'll slide back. A piece of hardwood. Yeah, she's not budging. Ah, we got a little bit. That's good. That's good. I'm not crazy about this gap here. Might have to unroll that and fix that. And the gap at the back is, let's see if we can slide the structure back. I think that's all I can gain on it. We're gonna roll her outside, take a look at it. Then these fenders are coming off. They're welded at the front, well tacked. I need to do a bunch of welding for the joints, and this bottom has to be redone. I fixed the heel, but the bottom, the very bottom edge needs to be modified. Now, since I've latched it, okay, that was close. Loosen all the bolts. My shoulder's kind of in your way, but I don't know how else to get you guys in here. Okay, that's one. Two, three. Just snug. Well, that's not too bad. This is pushing the skin ahead down here. I have a little triangle to put in at the bottom, the quarter panel, a little bit shy, But as I closed the door, I felt the skin slide ahead because of this. So I'm going to remark this, roll this a little tighter. That way we'll gain our distance back. But you heard that door just click, click, shut. At the front here, it's looking okay. The gap at the bottom, we're getting there. More open there, tighter there, tighter there. This is okay here. But this, right on the highlight, needs to come back. And we need to adjust here. This is all part of the process. This gap is sweet right there, look at that. So I'm gonna work on this. It's gonna take a few minutes. It's gonna drive people crazy, see me go around in circles, chasing my own tail, kind of, it'll look that way. But there's a lot of little things that have to be addressed. I've done a gapping video on a 70 or 72 Camaro. I can't remember, it's been a while ago. Card up above, check it out if you're interested in how to set gaps on a car. There's a couple of things that have to be taken care of on the driver's side fender, again, once it comes off. I could keep taking it on and off, but then, you know, that takes time. If it's on, everything else is good except for that spot, so that'll be corrected at another time, very soon actually, but later on. Meanwhile, we got the quarter panel finished, needs to be welded yet. And then there's a whole load of metal finishing that has to be done. Hey, check that out. They weren't modified. I'm keeping the bird too. Bird is the word. So there we have the passenger side door skin marked out. That's a front top corner. So basically, I scribed the edge flange on the door shell. That's the first black line, added the 1/2 inch tape, plus a little bit extra with a Sharpie. I will be cutting the Sharpie off, this line here. If we cut here, we're in trouble. Door skin is going to be too short. So that'll allow us enough flange to roll over. In these areas, we'll have to make a cut. And down below, we're going to break that line because it's a straight line, luckily. Not always can you get away with that. And through here, I'm gonna have to thin that down to about 1/4 inch, or maybe a little bit less, just so we can roll that radius over nicely. We still have to prime the inside shell and the inside of this panel. Since they are apart, we'll take and prime them. The other door is completed. I need to pop this out a little bit. There. So that lines up almost perfectly. This front fender needs to come up about 1/4 inch. I made a note here, up 1/4, and that's going to flush that up, and down below we're going to address that. This is the seam I was talking about. There's a bolting flange on the inside, so 2 bolts there, 1 bolt up here to bring all that together. That all has to be welded from the inside and finished, but I don't want to keep taking these fenders on and off. It took time to align everything to the hood, to the rockers, to the doors. See the aftermarket fastener right there. That's where she sits, looking quite nice. Everything's lining up. The gaps along the top that made up with the glass are where they need to be. Quarters are on. Need to metal finish everything yet. But before we get into those details, like I said, I want to roll it outside. So with this skin, I'm going to move ahead, cut off the excess material, and start rolling it up. Now I'm going to talk right now instead of when I'm hammering. I'm going to say that when I start rolling this up, maybe I better show you. All right, let's cut this off and I'll bring you guys back in. All right, folks, I'm going to roll this leg up to about 90-degree flange. We're not going to roll it all the way over because we won't be able to get the door shell engaged with the skin. When I start rolling a flange like this, I'll get a nice long dolly with a crisp edge on it, and I'll start just past the line where I want it to bend. If I try bending here, it's going to go into the door skin too much. Basically line up like that and start rolling it up. And as I'm standing the flange up, I'm going to creep in until I am on my line, and I'll have a nice consistent edge where I want it, not in the door where I'll have a bulge. Then we'll have to fix that bulge, and that's really tricky to do. As it is with 18 gauge, it's tricky to get this flange crisp. So we'll start further out, work our way in, get it done. Up in here, you see how I thinned it out on the radius, so that's going to help us with this flange. And I'm going to use a variety of dollies, something like this, to kind of fit within the curvature so I can, not distort the sheet metal too much. That's the name of the game. You want to minimize distortion. That might give us some issues. I always take my corners after I'm done and put a little weld there, grind it smooth, and it's finished. Here we go. Getting started is always tough. So you see, the bend is actually happening in front of that Sharpie line. I don't care the condition of the Sharpie line behind that. It's kind of wavy. I've struck a new Sharpie line based on the edge I want. And you can see the very shiny points there. That's where the dolly is making contact with the metal. Now I'm going to take and start bringing that back. I'm going to work this up gradually. See that? Now I am where I want to be. It's a little bit off, but I'm still have quite a radius here, so that's going to get tightened up in a second. See that? I'm right where I have to be. Perfect here, not yet perfect here. Okay, so that's looking really good. I can actually unroll that because that's going to be too tight for now. Let's roll it over. I have a pretty darn good line. A little bit of a point there, we'll have to adjust that, but I'm happy with that. It's still round, so we have to work on that, but it's consistent. Remove some of that material. This is going to be tricky in this corner. I have to find out exactly where it's coming into the radius. I can take most of this away. Kind of like that. That's not going to be too bad there. It's kind of still straight coming in. I think Cadillac did a 62 Cadillac, and they actually, factory actually put cuts in there and rolled this flange separate from that flange. I don't like to cut because that cut can spread. See, by rolling those flanges up, it's actually straightened this out, messing up our curvature. But that's okay, because when we roll that over, it'll take care of itself. The material will lay down, it'll restore our curvature. Some very strategically placed clamps are going to help us get this together. I think we're gonna be good. See, the top has to snap in over top of this area, same back there, and the bottom goes into that little recess. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut off a little bit of this bottom flange just to help us drop the top of the door a little bit by dropping the bottom. These. Just taking off 1/8 of an inch. So after I cut this, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the skin, take care of the door slip slide plates, the hinge slip slide plates. I have to prime the inside of this as well. So that's going to take some time to dry. I'll bring you guys in when I'm in the process of hemming the two together. Well guys, I kind of moseyed right along, and after getting this structure snapped into the skin, I just started hemming it and testing it and hemming it and adjusting it, and found out that going for an optimal 3/16 gap between the fender and the door, not too feasible. Just the way the door opens, it binds up right here, bang. So we have to make adjustments and run with a 1/4 inch gap finished, which means a little bit larger at this point. By the time you add the primers and the paints and all that stuff, clear base, or base clear the other way, we'll have our 1/4 inch, hopefully working gap. I'll take this door, stick it on there, fingers crossed for the last time today. See how it looks. A few other things I have to clean up: the top corners, the bottom radius, points where the two come together when we fold them over have to be welded, and just a bunch of general cleanup work. So let me get this up here, get the bolts in and swing it and see how it looks. Give me a second or two. Hello. 3 bolts top, 3 bolts bottom. I guess I should have adjusted the camera, but I'm not putting this down now. So when we swing the door, you get a chance to see inside. Come on. Come on, thread. Where do we go? There or there? Not there. About there. Power window mechanism bracket was rattling around. It came off, so we'll put it on later on after we get things fitted up. Still touching. Weird. Feature lines up. Actually, it's a little bit low. I'm wondering. Well, she latches all the way, comes out all the way. This is the top area I was talking about. I have to make a little adjustment. Have to unroll the hem and bring it up a little bit straighter. I guess when I was chasing it around, it rolled a little more. Yeah, the door has to go up. We're really tight here. Where's my door latch? Man. Working on a coat hanger. Loosen off all the bolts and start again. We're going to raise it up. Right there. Maybe I shouldn't tighten the front one. Let's try it there. You need to have a lot of patience when you're messing around with doors. And you change one thing at a time. Well, that sounds better. We need to rotate up a little bit. I don't hear the hinges talking either. That's a good sign. If you bolt them on and they're not parallel with each other, pins, they're going to groan. Not again, see? Where's my trusty putty knife? Trying to get this girl outside before there rains. We're calling for rain again. Even though it's sunny out there, the showers keep coming. You see, a little bit low here. Door's lower than the fender. This is actually, I didn't do that. That little thing was there, and I'm not crazy about it, but maybe that was there for the factory for a reason. And you see how we're a little bit low at the top. That curvature is fitting well, but just down. Same as on the rocker, we're low there. I think we're gonna take a break from this and do something else, like the gas door. How else are we gonna get this car outside without a gas door? It's impossible. It's not a green machine. So we've got a template made up, got the housing and the door. This housing, where this hole is, there is a, well, I don't think I have it now. Let's undo the trunk latch. Ah, here we are. We have the filler neck. And that filler neck used to be on that side. You can see the old door, and used to go down that way. Well, we've turned this tank 90 degrees because we've shortened the trunk. So it no longer fits in there the way it used to fit, but it fits this way. So the filler is over here now. The hole right there, that one with the X, or the star, whatever you want to call it, in blue, that's what we have to, that's our marker for the center of the opening, right there. I've located the housing. It looks a little bit big. Don't worry, it'll be fine. The gas door is much smaller, see that? Actually up here. So we're gonna have to cut a hole for that, using that template, outline it, chop a hole, weld this in. We'll line up our witness marks here. So go to the larger opening. Notice it's getting darker outside again. Clouds are rolling in. Okay, there we go. Make sure I was holding my tongue straight when I created this template. We will have to, it looks good. Looks very good. Yeah. All right. Oh, we're gonna cut a nice big hole out. Form fit that housing. I can't remember what it came from. Honda? Audi? I can't remember. Anyway, it's an oval. Instead of a square, I couldn't find a square door that tapered to the fin, and a rectangular one just didn't look right, a perfect rectangle. So why not oval? And at this rate, with the clouds, we'll probably get this car outside tomorrow morning after the dew kind of dries up, because I don't want to take a chance, get it out there, and she doesn't run right now. Nothing's, you know, connected underneath, no drive shaft. So we'll do it tomorrow morning, push it out, have a look at her. I was pushing to get it done tonight, but I love getting them outside in the evening sunset, the sun kind of caressing the features. Anyway, chop chop. There goes nothing. Sometimes it's good to take a break from one thing, work on something else. Don't worry, that's not it. For the newbies, you cut a rough hole out first, and you go around with the snips and you trim it to the exact hole you need. Sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 times around, depending on how accurate, how confident I am about making an accurate cut. Poor car. Just can't stop cutting into her. I believe it was Christian who suggested doing a filler neck somewhere that's concealed, say when the trunk closes, to have the filler opening kind of hidden. You know, when you close the trunk, you don't see the filler. I looked around, and just to fit something in that's, well, we can take a look at the back and see if there is something. Then we can weld this hole back up. So when this comes down, that kind of looks like that. It's being pushed up from the torsion rods. But if we had something in here, or in the corner here, you know, it doesn't quite lend itself to a filler. And the other thing is, we have to go down past the frame into there to get up underneath to there. So that's the trick. And I can use the original filler with a little modification. I need to come in a straight line into the fuel tank from the neck, from that filler line. So, and we're going to have a short piece here, so that you can't do too much bending. We can bend that pipe though to help us get into the neighborhood. The neck, we're going to have to create an insulated gasket so that if any fuel is spilt inside, it either drains out of a hole in the bottom and out onto the ground, and not into your trunk. You know, it's going to stink forever. And the idea of having a filler neck inside the trunk, say on a side here, you reach in, fill, you always drip something, and it's going to stink, and you know, it's not going to make for a comfortable ride. I like the smell of gas, but within reason. As I say, what a hole. The tricky part is going to be to fish this up inside. Son of a gun. I guess that's good. That's very good. I see the old witness lines that I had indicated here. The only thing is our hole is a little bit too small. So I'm gonna go around again and take the Sharpie off. I think that's what the culprit is. I'd sooner have it smaller than too big. It'll probably be too big now. This is like the final last bit of fabrication and mock-up before we get into metal finishing. So when we roll this out, there are going to be some spots that need to be addressed. In front of here, I'm pointing it out already. You know, it's not going to be a perfect finish just yet. I want to make sure that whatever we've done, if we have to undo something, you're not spending time making it pretty and then cutting it up. You know, it'll make for more content, but time is valuable. That's why the front end was not blown apart, flanges all welded, made pretty, until I am sure we're going to run with what we have. Come on. You see how much I'm trimming. Guess what? For a second, I thought I made it too large. No, we need to adjust a few spots. Right there. Right there. Let's try that first. It'll probably fall. Our lines, there, are lining up. Lines are lining up. You know you're tired when. Look at that. Don't need to do anything more. Maybe a screw or two here. That's ventilation. I'm gonna get the machine dragged around, tack it, fit it, weld it. I'll bring you guys in when we're swinging the door. Well, we have a little metal finishing to do around the perimeter of this, but for now, and for tomorrow morning, we're going to leave it. I am really curious to see, it's not centered, how this is going to look. Perhaps it was a mistake. I'm sure some viewers are going to point that out. But there we go. Hey. You never know until it's done. I want to snap it shut because I don't have, or do I? I guess I can release it. There's a little plunger inside. It's cable activated, so we're gonna have a cable running to the front of the car, just like a modern car. There we go. One fuel door. Now she can move outside. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna clean the shop up, get things ready, maybe play with that door a little more. Tomorrow morning, it's showtime, or whatever you want to call it, walk around time. See you tomorrow morning. A storm is brewing. For those of you who are new to our channel, this started out as a 1956 Chrysler Windsor Newport, meaning 4-door hardtop. After some cutting and pasting, I bring to you Chrysler 300i muscle car. The I-letter series never existed, and this is kind of a tribute to the 300 series cars. You may have noticed that it is considerably shorter. If you look at a muscle car, 70s Cuda, they had a long hood, long bonnet, and a short deck lid. So we've kind of moved things around to give it that same effect. In order to do that, we pulled 8 inches from ahead of the wheels and almost 11 inches from behind the wheels for a total of 19 inches. Now, by doing that, we had to lower that roof. Otherwise, it would have looked really high with the new proportions. At the same time, we laid that windshield back 2 inches. So the overall effective lowering was about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, somewhere around there. If you look at the line from the front of the windshield down to the front spindle, it's almost a straight line. I don't know if I can superimpose it on the screen, but just use your third eye and just continue the line from the windshield down to the spindle. That's a very common effect on modern cars. Otherwise, it was a lot more vertical. Now the back window, because we don't have the rubber seal, the bottom edge is sitting a little bit inward than it should be, about 2 inches inward. So it's going to rake back a lot more than it is. The other thing is we had to kind of pinch that top in so it didn't fall in. If we had the back out, the front would have fallen in. 300 had round turn signals. We decided to open it up a little bit. Newport had those rectangular ones. We kind of compromised between the two. And we're going to have a horizontal light turn signal, running light in there, kind of like the modern Dodges have. Now, as for these forward thrusting headlight shields, we kept them. Why? They're going to be painted the same color as the body, so that's going to blend everything in. And the bumpers, front and back, they're also going to be painted body color. I can hear thunder. I better hurry this up. So, moving rearward, we've cleaned up the side windows, eliminated the quarter vents because the angles have changed. There's a trim piece that goes along the top. You can see the chrome above. That's going to close that gap up. And there's a strip that goes above the door line, just above the door feature there. That's going to be a chrome piece that wraps around and goes into the rear window. So that's going to minimize the height of that side glass. It'll look really good. Tie everything in together. Back bumper, it has to go up about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch to tuck up underneath that tail light. And we need to do a little bit of work around the trim for the tail light. You can see we started filling in some of the holes. Need to be addressed a little bit. The trim holes, that is. We're going to fill them all in, and we're going to run with our own trim. Now, with all the work that I'm talking about that we did on the exterior, we couldn't have done any of it without shortening the frame. We took 8 inches out of the frame, roughly in that area there, just so that we could do all the body modifications on the outside. So that was the basis. That was what everything was that's where everything started from. We're going to keep the aggressive wheel stance, the wide wheels in the back, and of course we're going to change those bias plies in the front. Speaking of the front, see the front wheel arch? We've actually pulled that back about 1.25 inches, opened it up, again lightening the front. It's just reshaping things and making the car look more spunky. We have some work to do on the bottom. I mentioned that earlier. We have to tuck that in, the bottom edge in, where the front radius kind of comes down. If you can see it, it's a bit dark down there. We have to continue that line all the way back and into the rocker panel. But that's going to be done when the fenders come off. We need some metal finishing to do yet down at the bottom. With them on, you can't get the dollies inside. So by taking things on and off, on and off, on and off, that takes time. And I'm trying to get things outside today before it rains, because they're calling for rain for the next couple of days. Body gaps. That door seems a little bit wide at the top. There's no glass, there's no power regulators or anything, actuators in the door, no handles, no weight to the door. So when you add that extra little bit of weight, it will settle down and that feature will continue on from front to back without any discontinuities. Yeah. You can see a little bit of evidence there of the shortening of the roof. The side area, we cut out that rear window arch. Most of the work was done in the front. That blended in right there. I have to do a little bit of stretching, a little bit of shrinking, and just work all that metal in. Oh yeah, the deck lid. That's one thing I didn't mention. We took 10 inches out of that. Now you're saying, whoa, Nick, you said 10 3/4. Well, if we took 10 3/4 out, we wouldn't have enough material to roll over the front of that structure. It would have been short, and that would have put us in a jam. It is up a little bit because I haven't adjusted the aftermarket trunk wire. Where that blue line is, that just means we have to do some more metal finishing that area. Got passenger side. Just about there as well. So there has to be an adjustment there by the windshield. All those trim holes, we've started filling them in, but couldn't get into that area. Once the fender comes off, we'll finish the rest. At the moment, every panel, as you can see, is a different color, so it's breaking up the continuity of the lines as well. Once we metal finish everything, you know, the boring stage. I did share metal finishing on a 1940 Ford coupe, custom coupe we built. Nobody really checked it out, so we're going to just jump right ahead into epoxy primer and basically carry on from there. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the progress so far, give us a thumbs up. Really appreciate the support.